I remember visiting a garden with my dad once. I don't remember where it was, but I think it was supposed to be whimsical. As a kid though, it scared the crap out of me. My dad explained they were just people in costume, but something about the look of them just scared me. Maybe it was the strange way they moved, or a lack of face. I didn't have the word for it at the time. Uncanny. That's how I describe it. I remember running ahead in the maze. I think one of the flower people came up behind us and I bolted. Either way, I was lost in the hedge maze. Remembering what my dad told me when we entered, if we got separated, find the exit or an employee, then ask them to go get him. Those flower people scared me, but I was a brave kid. I went right up the next one I saw and asked them to help me find my dad. They didn't say anything, but they gestured for me to follow. After endless walking and more turns than I thought should be possible, we came upon a wooden door. I wasn't the best at staying put as a kid, so I assumed they wanted me to wait in the employee area while they found my dad. It made sense. There were some books in there, so I quickly lost track of time. I only looked up when I started to feel hungry. I wasn't great at reading clocks at the time, but it looked like a bit of time had passed. I looked around for a fridge, hoping to grab a snack. I wondered why my dad was taking so long. I had seen a few of the other people, the flower people, come in and out, but never saw them eat. At this point, I was bored and hungry, so I made a move to leave. As I was heading out the door, one of them was coming in and blocked my way. I went to go around them, but they kept blocking me. I asked them if they'd found my dad yet, but they didn't speak, only tilted their head. Then they started coming towards me, ushering me back into the room. I batted their hand away. Ow. Something cut me, and that was too scary for a little kid me. I ducked under their legs, getting a few more scrapes, and ran out the door. As soon as I got out the door, I realized something was wrong, like really wrong. It was nighttime. I couldn't believe my eyes. The pretty garden I was at only a little bit ago looked so sinister empty and lit only by the moon through the glass roof. I stared in shock until I heard the rustling behind me. Right. One of the flower people had just attacked me. I started running. I didn't know where I was going or which way I had originally came, just that I wanted away from here. Just when I thought I lost them, I heard rustling and saw a group of them. They turned towards me at the sight, not having faces. I knew if I were them, I'd see murder in their eyes. I felt like I was intruding. I didn't belong here. I took off the other way. God, there were so many of them. I tripped over a few things. I didn't have time to process them at the time, but looking back, I believe a few of them were vines. A few of those scratched me too, but the worst thing, I remember, almost running headfirst into a stroller. I eventually ended up crawling into one of the hedges and staying put. I knew I couldn't keep running. I was just hoping I could hide and keep quiet until morning when I could see better. I don't remember how long I spent in there crying and wishing my dad would find me. I must have fallen asleep because next thing I remember, I was being awoken by something soft pressing up against my face, which turned out to be a dog. Then a police officer asked me if I was alright. I was scratched up pretty bad. Then one of those flower people came up and screamed. But then they took the headpiece off and mask and spoke to me. They assured me that while the costumes did occasionally spook the children, they would never hurt anyone. Now that they'd taken it off and I was getting a better look at it, I realized something. This headpiece didn't look or move like the ones from last night. I said so too. The woman just looked at me confused. She explained that everyone who played this role has the same identical costume and that maybe they looked different because of the lighting. I felt around their hands on the costume and I didn't feel any thorns. I told them that I'd been held in the staff room with all the books. She looked confused. Apparently the only thing in the staff room was a couple changing rooms, lockers, and a couch. It was also behind a painted metal door that was clearly labeled staff. I was brought to the station and told my story in the car. The officer obviously didn't believe me and looked confused and concerned. He told me that this was the third day that they'd combed the place. My dad had been worried sick, but also didn't believe what happened to me. I was still covered in scratches, but they had all chalked it up to sleeping in a rose hedge. Look, I wouldn't be bringing this up again if it weren't for the fact that over the years, I've seen more of those flower people in gardens. Hell, Even that would be none of my business, but the other night, one of them was in our garden. I don't think they liked that I got away. Honestly, with how much more I'm seeing them now, I'm starting to think maybe I haven't gotten away quite yet.